Selamat kembali para hadirin sekalian. Welcome back once again. The same structure, that is those who are seated at the back, can you please repark your seats accordingly. Kalau boleh tu di belakang tu ya. Yang belakang tu sampai ke Johor Bahru tu, apa hal tu, ke depan sikit. Okay, those, I don't think you even need to sit on the black covered cloth chairs. It's because there's so many nice coloured grey and gold coloured chairs for you. Jadi belakang semua tu tidak dilarang untuk duduk di kerusi berwarna hitam. Saman RM100 akan dihantar kepada anda kemudian. Okay, so kalau boleh itu sila ke depan. I know among everyone here there is one very sad, anxious and worried, I think, lady who lost her Apple phone. Okay, but the only best part is you have to unlock the code in front of me, failing which the phone can never be yours. Okay, senang. This is called verification code. Jadi kalau sesiapa ni yang tertinggal telefon, bukan orange, bukan strawberry, bukan durian tapi apple, mahal, dipersilakan cepat-cepat datang berjumpa dengan MC. Tapi depan MC itu anda terpaksa unlock your phone to show that you are the owner of that phone. We hope to begin soon. This time it will not be a session on publication. Ada tulis sini Abang Zarif Aryo. Kalau ada dia telefon Abang Arif Aryo tu, Aryo turun datang ambil balik. Ini mesti saya rasa tim Aryo ni. Terima kasih. Kalau saya dah jumpa dah. Thank you for the call. Pandai pun depan MC dia terus call saya. Okay. You went to a smart university, must be from University Sultan Azlan Shah. Very good. Public Engagement Forum, Building Tomorrow, the Halal Economy-Malaysia's leading role in building a robust and sustainable halal ecosystem. Truly incredible. These 3 days, believe me, we have covered an incredible different sectors of interest for us to absorb new knowledge, and we hope the younger generation, especially university students, are able to have advantage on what you're going to do. And this is truly incredible. We wait for another minute or so before the time comes to 2:30 for us to begin this public engagement forum. And I sincerely hope there is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 standing microphones here for you later on to raise your questions, your queries. Don't feel shy, because today is a day for you to learn and for you to also, for those of you who is shy to actually speak on the microphone, this will be a good test for you, a test for you to overcome your stage fright, to just go in front there and try to speak out. That will be a very good maintenance. Tadi baru kata Miss Handsome dari Pakistan ni, tepukan gemuruh kepada pemenang handphone Apple. Thank you. Udah Aryo tu, they are involved in the setting up of the sound system and the LEDs. Thank you very much. Okay, back again to students. Her Excellency is here. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure right now to welcome. I can see the 3 speakers are all young entrepreneurs. They're all incredible, dynamic, future leaders of Malaysia. And today, we have the 3 of them tap their knowledge, their experience, their know-how, especially in the sustainable halal ecosystem. May I welcome right now the moderator, Mr. DHALIFF G. ANUAR. And may I also welcome Mr. HAIROL ARIFFEIN SAHARI. He is the CEO of Halal Development Corporation, HDC, and Mr. Wan AMIR-JEFFERY Wan Abdul MAJID, Chief Executive Officer, Commercial at Duopharma, Biotech, Berhad. Let's welcome our 3 incredible young entrepreneurs looking really good and cool. A bit about Mr. Dali's background as a moderator. He specializes in advising various development aspects of halal ecosystem. His scope of expertise includes business advisory, strategy, halal integrity, certification development, and audit. He works in food and beverage industry as well as logistic, packing services, and pharmaceutical services, among other industries. Ladies and gentlemen, he was also an assurance manager at PwC Malaysia, appointed at firm in-house, subject matter on halal. Long biodata on him, but let me just cut it a little bit short. Business and Human Capital Development is his points of view on halal-related matters were featured in local and international media Halal Industry Master Plan. He was the Vice President of the Strategic Planning and Monitoring Division. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure right now to pass the floor over to the moderator, Mr. DHALIFF G. ANUAR.
Thank you. Thank you to our host today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon and masa el khair to everyone. Welcome again back to the hall and to the forum on Building Tomorrow, the Halal Economy, Malaysia's leading role in building a robust, a sustainable halal ecosystem. My name is DHALIFF. I'm from Halal Development Corporation, and I'm honored to be your moderator for this session. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia has long been the global leader in the halal economy. Some of us might not very familiar with the halal situation in our country, but here we are to share with you that Malaysia is at the leading front of the halal economy globally. Yeah? And we have contributed significantly, halal itself, our halal economy has contributed significantly to our GDP and setting standards for halal certification worldwide. There are many countries out there who has been imitating, replicating the Malaysia standard in halal. Today, we have two distinguished panelists who will share their insights, their ideas, their knowledge, their experience on how we can continue to build and sustain this vital sector, the halal economy. Please join me in welcoming our first panelist, Mr. HAIROL ARIFFEIN SAHARI, the CEO of Halal Development Corporation, my CEO. HDC our organization has been at the forefront of promoting and developing Malaysia's halal industry. Our second panelist is Mr. AMIR-JEFFERY, ABDUL MAJID, the CEO of Duopharma Biotech, the company that produces euphemal and flavets, vitamins, a leading halal certified pharmaceutical company in Malaysia and a listed one. Duopharma has been instrumental in advancing halal pharmaceuticals, ensuring that our healthcare needs in Malaysia are met in accordance with halal standards of Malaysia. All right, let me do a little bit of context before we start our conversation with our two panelists. As highlighted in the State of Global Islamic Economy report by Dinar Standard, the one that is published in Dubai, yeah? The recent report, 2023 and 2024, by the Global Islamic Economy, it says that the global Muslim consumer market is thriving, and in 2022, it was recorded that the world's 2 billion Muslim consumers had spent an estimated berjumlah in total of 2.29 trillion US dollars across various sectors, including food, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, fashion, travel, and media or recreation. This figure, this impressive figure, represents 9.5% year-on-year growth to compare with the previous year, which was 2 trillion US dollars in 2021. Such significant growth underscores the increasing influence of halal products and services. That's why halal is very popular these days. And it is driven by the Islamic faith-inspired ethical consumption needs. Clearly, the halal market is not just growing, it is becoming a major force in the global economy. And as we can see, there are plenty of other countries now, which is not Malaysia, they want to know what halal is and how can they excel, How can they penetrate, or how can they be present in the halal economy? And Malaysia has once again demonstrated its leadership in the Islamic economy. According to the report as well, Malaysia has retained the top position, the top spot for the 10th consecutive year. 10 tahun berturut-turut berada di nombor 1. Followed by Saudi Arabia number 2, the number 2 spot, and then Indonesia, and then the United Arab Emirates. This achievement highlights Malaysia's sustained progress and commitment to the halal ecosystem, excelling in areas such as Islamic finance, halal food definitely, and media and recreation. All right, now let's dive into our discussion. So to give our panelists some context, I would like to start by asking each of our panelists to share their perspectives on what has been done so far by Malaysia, or by them, or by their organizations, to contribute to Malaysia's remarkable achievement in the halal industry. So first, I would like to ask the CEO of HDC, Mr. HAIROL, could you please share with us what HDC has done to promote and develop Malaysia's halal industry? How has HDC's initiatives contributed to Malaysia's top spot in the Global Islamic Economy Report? Please.
Thank you, Mr. DHALIFF, for the lovely introduction. Maybe I would like to start this conversation by doing a little bit of introduction about my organization. It is called Halal Development Corporation, in short HDC. It is an agency under the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. The mandate given by the government of Malaysia to this organization is to become the central coordinator of all matters regarding halal ecosystem development in Malaysia. And we are the secretariat of the Malaysia Halal Industry Development Council, a council chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dato' Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. The role which we play is to facilitate onboarding of industry players onto the halal economy, basically to achieve 3 things. Number 1 is to increase Malaysia halal export. Number 2 is to increase direct investment into our halal industrial parks. And thirdly is to create employment opportunity, quality employment opportunity for Malaysians in this fast growing, I would say, one of the fastest growing economic segment of the world. Just now, Mr. Dali mentioned about the CAGR, the CAGR is about 9% year-on-year basis. So this is very, very huge. And to answer Mr. Moderator question, I would like to call back about 15 years ago when I joined the organization. During that time, my predecessor brought me to visit a couple of countries out there, and I observed that only few countries out there know or have some idea on what is halal from economic development point of view. But I think through vigorous promotional activities done by HDC and other agencies, whether it is within Malaysia or outside Malaysia, I would say 50 years down the road now, and now come to this day, I would safely say that I think the whole world now already started at least to talk about halal from economic development standpoint. So it will be very, very fascinating to experience countries like Uruguay, countries like Brazil, Peru, Japan, Korea, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan came to HDC and to learn on how Malaysia developed its own halal ecosystem. And it is correct that based on report mentioned by Mr. Moderator just now, the size of halal economy has already reached around 3 trillion USD, and based on our own forecast, there are plenty of reports out there, but based on Halal Development Corporation forecast, it will reach around $5 trillion by 2030. But having said that, the supply going into this 3 trillion or 5 trillion or $7 trillion halal market is nothing more than 20%. Leaving a huge gap of 80% between supply and demand. So when I first shared these findings to the stakeholders out there during our event in Melbourne, so a good question came to me. So he asked me, that journalist asked me, how Malaysia strategically respond to that supply and demand gap of 80%. And my answer to her at that time is, if I am just left with only 10 to 15% supply and demand gap, and definitely Malaysia or even HDC will compete, and we will compete fiercely. But now we are dealing with 80% supply and demand gap, and we realize that halal economy throughout the world or globally, it is not a competition. It is a game which we need to play together to excel throughout the supply chain. So the strategic answer or strategic response by Malaysian government is to establish more collaboration and cooperation. So that's the reason why in October last year, the Deputy Prime Minister, during one of our events, our World Halal Business Conference in UK, which we organized in October last year, he announced one initiative called Halal Diplomacy. Basically is to internationalize our halal economy, connecting Malaysia halal economy or halal ecosystem with halal ecosystem available in other parts of the world. So of course, there will be differences between maturity level of each ecosystem, but I think through sharing of knowledge and expertise by HDC, especially also our ministry, which is the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, with other government throughout the world, we are hoping that we can connect the ecosystem, and we will try our best to manage the supply and demand gap, the supply chain disruption, which is the biggest issue in this halal economic development throughout the world. And definitely, we are very, very active doing this halal training and consultancy, both at government-to-government level and also at business-to-business level. So that is, in short, what we are focusing at the moment, providing knowledge, providing expertise, providing business-to-business networking between companies and also government, federal government and state government in Malaysia, as well as Malaysia's government and other government who are interested to develop and advance their halal ecosystem together with Malaysia. Thank you.
Brilliant. All right, thank you, Mr. HAIROL. That is such a significant progress that, to me personally, I think, what we are doing with our country. That one, it was just from HDC, and we have plenty others, organization, entities in Malaysia who are participating in elevating the Malaysia's halal growth. All right, now my question to Mr. Wan Jeff. As the CEO of Duopharma Biotech, what has been Duopharma's approach to advancing halal pharmaceuticals in Malaysia? How has Duopharma's efforts contributed to Malaysia's leadership in the halal sector?
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon to all, and thank you, Mr. DHALIFF, for the question. Duopharma Biotech Berhad, I would like to give an introduction about the company. Duopharma Biotech Berhad is a pharmaceutical company that is based in Malaysia. We have 3 manufacturing facilities in the state of Selangor and a research and innovation center in Selangor as well. We are a publicly listed company, as mentioned earlier, and we are majority owned by Pemodalan Nasional Berhad, which is PNB, the unit trust company for Amanah Saham. Now, we have long ago identified halal as a differentiator for Duopharma and for Malaysia. Now, if you understand the pharmaceutical industry, it is a very regulatory, strict regulatory industry, regulated industry. It is one of the strictest if compared to, I suppose, banking and maybe aviation. And everything that you develop is based on GMP. So when we decided to pursue halal pharmaceuticals, it is really for the ummah, for the consumers. And because we are a GLC, so to speak, we realize that there is that responsibility that we hold and that we have to advance in ensuring that the consumers will get the products that they require that is halal assured. So Duopharma has been involved in developing the standards, even MS 2424 2019 now, when the first issue was 2013, we were involved in the development of the standard. Now, this standard is a halal pharmaceutical standards, for those who don't know. MS-2424 2019. It is the first standard, halal pharma standard in the world. There's no other standard during that time, but there's now one that is developed by Pakistan and one more that is developed on a harmonized basis by OIC and the SMIIC. So we at that time adhered to what was the food standard back in 1995. There's no halal pharma standard in 1995, and we started to register our products, which were the OTC products. And the first products were basically CHAMS, Flavats, as mentioned earlier. And this is our household names as far as consumer products are concerned. So we got registration there. And then fast forward to 2013, the standard was developed. And we again became, because we wanted to ensure that Duopharma had this tagging along with it, that we were the first to have OTC products registered under the standard. So at that time, MS-2424 only had OTC standards. It was only OTC. There was no prescription or ethical drugs that were monitored. So in 2017 was when we had the ethical product registration that was open. So we registered our products as well. So now we have 334 active products that are basically registered as halal. Everything that we manufacture in Duopharma is certified halal by JAKIM. And there's, of course, various processes that we have to go through, because when you start off not having halal and you want to do halal, then you obviously have to go out there and make sure that your raw material suppliers, your packaging material suppliers, your logistics, your supply chain partners, your warehouses, your equipment that you use in the facilities are all done under Cert 2 to basically clean up the whole entire place. As I mentioned earlier, some of the things that we do as a company obviously is aligned to standards, even GMP. If you're a pharmaceutical company, you have to align to GMP standards that's based on NPRA's GMP. NPRA is a National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority under Ministry of Health. They are the ones who basically certifies everybody GMP. They determine who can manufacture pharmaceutical products and who can't. And in the context of halal pharma, if you have GMP, then only can you manufacture halal, you can get halal certification, because it is a key standard. It's a gold standard. GMP is a gold standard for pharmaceutical manufacturing. Then you can have halal pharmaceuticals. But if you don't have GMP, you're not allowed to get halal pharmaceuticals, obviously. So if you lose your halal, you will not lose GMP, but if you lose GMP, you lose both. So there is an underlying standard that is more important in the context of pharmaceuticals, which is GMP. What we're saying here is that you have that standard because the products that you manufacture out of the facility is of a very high quality, safety, and efficacy standards. You do not have any doubts about what you're consuming. But when we say halal pharmaceuticals, it means that your products are basically hygienic. It is essentially a GMP plus, you know. And you talk about tayyiban sometimes and the wholesomeness of whatever you produce and whatever you consume. And here is a standard that is aligned to GMP. And it is additional value to that GMP. So it adds value to whatever you're producing, whatever you're consuming is safe and assured halal. So in terms of what we do, as I said, we've already registered some of these products with JAKIM. We also have developed the first biosimilar, which is a product for called erythropoietin. And that product is used by patients that go through dialysis. Renal patients that have issues with their kidneys. So this is the first biosimilar product that is manufactured in Malaysia, manufactured by Duopharma. We did our clinical study in Malaysia and Korea with a Korean partner. And we received halal certification for this product. And so this product is halal certified. And it's the first, as I know, halal certified product, biosimilar product in the world. So this is something that I think we should all be proud of, and that I would like to share this information with all of you here, that Duopharma, a company that is a Malaysian-owned, public listed entity owned by PNB, has manufactured halal products, not just halal generic products or halal OTC products, supplement products, but also biopharmaceutical products, biosimilar products. So some of the things that we've done so far, so I'll just pass it back to you.
Oh, interesting. I never knew that. All right. My next questions. I'd like to delve into the challenges. The keyword is challenges that we face as a nation in growing further the halal industry. Perhaps my question first is going to go to Mr. HAIROL. From HDC's perspective, what are the primary challenges Malaysia faces in further advancing its halal industry, our halal industry, and how can these challenges be addressed to maintain and enhance our leadership in the global Islamic economy?
Right. This is what I am dealing, on daily basis, for the past 15 years, addressing challenges and also managing challenges at G2G and also at business to business level. I would say if you look at, just now we mentioned about the size of the halal economy, 3 trillion, 5 trillion or 7 trillion, whatever trillion that report has out there. But we look at Malaysia halal export last year, it's about ringgit Malaysia 55 billion, But what is 55 billion ringgit entering a $3 trillion market? That is peanuts. That is very small drop in the ocean. And when I asked my team to dig further, what's the reason behind the small number of Malaysia halal export? For the past, I think for the past 15 years, it's still hovering around, between 30 billion ringgit to 60 billion ringgit. The number of establishments within that is operating within the halal promoted sector, which is food, cosmetics, personal care, pharmaceutical, ingredients, even for food and non-food items, logistics, medical devices. There are about simply around 200,000 of them out there. But the number of establishments out there who are already certified halal by JAKIM is nothing more than 10,000, leaving a huge number of 190,000 companies out there that eligible to apply for the halal certificate, but not yet certified halal for whatever reason or experience they are facing at the moment. And even though we analyze it further, and when we analyze it further, among the 10,000 certified halal companies, only less than 3,000 are exporters. So the 55 billion ringgit worth of halal export just now is contributed by that 3,000 certified halal exporters. So here, the biggest challenge, and of course already been a workload of mine, or my responsibility as a leader of HDC, the biggest organization, I would say, when it comes to halal economic development throughout the world, okay? We need to do a lot of intervention to increase the number of certified halal companies. And those already certified halal company, there must be a direct intervention, direct and indirect intervention in terms of capacity and capability building, and to a certain extent, competency building in order to transform them into an exporters. So this is the workload, increase the number of certified halal companies and upgrade them to become exporters. That's number one. Number two, when we look at the issue at global level, the biggest issues faced by our industry players is halal supply chain disruptions, the disconnectivity. I just pick one industry which is I love most, which is the halal ingredients. Because halal ingredients is very, very critical. Maybe Mr. Jeff later can share with us the importance of halal ingredients in manufacturing of pharmaceutical products, certified halal pharmaceutical products. Because based on Malaysia halal standard, which is followed by various countries out there, for a manufacturer like Mr. Jeff here, to produce a certified halal and goods, all the ingredients to be introduced into the production line must also be certified halal. Under Malaysia halal context, it got to be certified halal by JAKIM, our competent authority. And secondly, at least it must be certified halal by bodies recognized by JAKIM. So we have 88 of them from 48 different countries. And what we know, based on our own analysis, there are more than 500 halal certification bodies out there from 150 different countries. So why are we limiting our supply chain into just 48 countries? So this is a number that we need to increase. We need to increase the number of certified halal companies. We need to upgrade them into a manufacturer. We must assist them in achieving their production capacity, maximum production capacity, so that they can increase their production, they can increase their export. So in order to do that, they must have a better access to certified halal ingredients. But if we just limited our supply chain to just 48 countries, then we are limiting the capability of our SMEs. So we need to do that. So again, through intervention, through training, through consultancy, which HDC is doing at local and at international stage, it is very, very important for us to use it, to capitalize it, and connect the supply chain. Then, in order to do that, so from a bigger scale point of view, the ecosystem between one country to a halal ecosystem between one country to another need to be connected. So in order to connect the halal ecosystems, we have identified 8 halal ecosystem critical connecting points, which I will mention later. And with that, so we are hoping that the number of SKU, halal SKU available in the supply chain will be increased, and making auxiliary services like logistics become more sense, business sense. So otherwise, it's pity to see our brother and sister out there who are operating halal logistics business, but they do not have enough base load to fill up their containers, their lorry, their trucks. You know, they have to, in the morning, they carry the certified halal goods, and then in between, in the middle of the day, they cleanse it, and then during the afternoon, they carry something else, just because to make sure that their business in operation sustainably. But yes, with the number of certified halal SKU increase, then we can have a better volume of export, and with that, we definitely can make sure that our brothers and sisters out there have better access to certified halal goods and also services. So that is my response to your question.
Our brothers and sisters, which means all of you and everybody's out there. All right, my question now to Mr. Wan Jeff. In the context of halal pharmaceuticals, what are the major challenges that Duopharma and the industry at large face in contributing to the growth of Malaysia's halal sector? What strategies are being employed to overcome these obstacles, in your opinion?
The challenges that a pharmaceutical company is facing when they are trying to access markets in particular is quite daunting. The issues are multiples, because you are talking about, first of all, ensuring that you have a dossier that is registrable in the country concerned. We produce the products here in Malaysia, they are halal certified in Malaysia, and then you want to go to another country. Now that's just on a registration or regulatory requirement. I don't want to bore you with the technicalities, but the challenges that we've had from the start has always been acceptance of halal pharma, which is a strange thing, right? Because you would think that because you are actually producing the product, meeting certain requirements of the Muslim community, that everybody will accept it, especially in the Muslim countries. But you know, as well as I do, that when you talk about medication and you want to take it to another country, ubat-ubatan, you want to take it to another country, they will accept it regardless of whether it has halal or not. They will just say if it's pharmaceutical products, if it's medication, it's medicine, khalas, it's halal. You don't have to certify it. We have a different school of thought, obviously, and that's why we developed MS-2424. It's because we realized that the two things that are considered nudge is basically porcine and other heavy nudge, mughalaza, and also alcohol content. So these are two things. But what it means is that all this while, where we didn't have halal pharma, everything that you develop that has porcine in it is consumed by you. Now, the question I want to pose to everybody here is if you had the science and the technology to actually develop alternatives to these porcine materials and non-halal materials, wouldn't you do it? I know 100% of you would say you would. So put it in that context, and I think you realize that there are technologies now that can substitute, develop products that can substitute and develop alternatives for those that are considered as najis. So that's what we are doing. And as we progress in terms of science and so on and so forth, there will continue to be technologies that will help to advance this faster and better and cheaper, probably. So that was the initial challenge. But the bigger challenge as we move into markets and try to access markets as we move forward is really trying to convince these countries, the decision makers within these countries, wherever they are, to actually accept halal pharma. You see, you have to look at halal pharma as a differentiator and as a value add to the GMP, to what is already a good standard, but you're adding value to that standard. If you can accept that as a premise, then your argument will be stronger. It's all about providing halal quality products to all Muslims around the world. And the other challenge also is for the non-Muslims, and this is a question of inclusivity, where the non-Muslims will say that I don't need halal, my products will be halal. You know, it's good enough. But if you can position it, explain it, and then present it in a way that they will see that this is actually a standard that is high in quality and holistic and wholesome, then they would perhaps consider it as something that they would want to take as well. There is, of course, a religious basis for it, but that's the basis for a lot of things. But what we want to do is to position it in a way that people will understand. So I guess I'm putting in a challenge and also putting a solution to it together as well. But the challenges is trying to convince decision makers, like authorities, to actually accept halal pharma. That's a major challenge that we have. And we continue to have it not just overseas, but also in the country. And that is something that we have to fix. Otherwise, that access to the products that we are trying to push for will not be as efficient and as productive as we thought it would be, as it could be. Yeah.
Can you share a little bit of example? What are we facing here in Malaysia instead? The one that you just mentioned.
One of the example is this. Like I said earlier, if you have MS2424 that you can actually get certification for both OTC products and also prescription products. You can get certification for both, but you can only put your halal logo onto your OTC products only, not for your prescription products. You can get certification for both categories of products, OTC and prescription, but you cannot put halal logo on your prescription product. So there is a reason why you can't. And that reason is something I can't reveal, because it's potentially, well, I can talk about what I assume it is. It is potentially going to be a question, a confusing issue, where some products, where you have prescription and ethical products that you're in the market, some are halal, some are not halal. And some of these drugs are actually life-saving drugs. They're critical for you to take, because if you don't take them, then your life could be in danger. When you start having prescription drugs being certified, then some drugs may be halal, some drugs may not be halal. So the fear may be that if you put halal on some and don't have halal on others, then they might not consume those that don't have halal certification or halal logos on them, right? But I would like to put a different spin to this, where the argument should be the need for awareness and education is always there. There needs to be an education program that continues, an awareness creation that continues on, because it is so important to make sure that everybody is aware that halal pharmaceuticals is important. It is a good quality product. Its standard is very, very high. And allow the ethical products to also have the halal logo on them in order for that knowledge and awareness and understanding to be faster spread. That way, I think we could circumvent this issue of or concerns that perhaps some of the authorities or the people have.
I like that. I like that. I think the word spin not so much. I would prefer to use re-angle it.
Re-angle.
Re-angle it. Yeah, but I like it. Yeah. All right. Now let's turn our attention to the future. I'd like to ask each of our panelists here, what needs to be done to further advance Malaysia's halal industry and maintain our leadership in the global market? So Mr. HAIROL mentioned earlier about the 8 connecting points. I think my question will be connected to it. All right, Mr. HAIROL, from HDC's standpoint, what specific actions or strategies to be implemented to ensure continued growth and innovation in Malaysia's halal industry? How can HDC and other stakeholders work together to achieve these goals?
Yes, by listening to my colleague, Mr. Jeff here, we can line up, plenty of issues and challenges, and definitely what are the intervention that needed from the government to assist industry players like One Jeff and its pharmaceutical products production. From government point of view, that's the reason why in 2022, the government of Malaysia launched its second Halal Industry Master Plan. We call it Halal Industry Master Plan 2030. So the idea of having this Halal Industry Master Plan 2.0 or 2030 is to make Malaysia's halal product and services more prominent, visible, and also globalized. So the target been set by the Malaysian government for the stakeholders in Malaysia, whether they belong to the federal government or state government, to work hand in hand to increase the contribution of Malaysia halal industry towards GDP by almost 11% by 2030. So that is the ultimate goal of our Halal Industry Master Plan 2030. But in order for us to achieve that, so the master plan suggested 7 strategic thrusts. Number 1 is to enhancing halal industry-friendly policy and legislation. That's number 1, very, very important. Yes, the government wants to enforce, the government wants to put rules and regulation, but it got to be industry-friendly. So Mr. Jeff mentioned just now, so these are the obstacles that he's facing locally and also internationally. So how government Malaysia, through intervention from organizations like SDC, can assist industry players like Duopharma in order for them to export or even for them to increase their production of certified halal pharmaceutical. That's number 1. Yeah? Policies and procedure is very, very important. It got to be industry-friendly. Secondly, the industry players need to sell their products, need to market their products. And therefore, the second strategic thrust is creating new and bigger market spaces for Malaysia's halal product and services, locally and abroad. So what is market spaces and what is marketplace? Market space is maybe Kyrgyzstan or Bishkek. Marketplace is a mall or hyper mall in Kyrgyzstan. So we need to tackle both. We need to tackle the market space, and we also need to tackle the marketplace so that we can position our products and also services better in one market. That's number 2. Number 3, establishing a larger pool of halal experts and professionals to meet the global needs. Because based on our standards, for all certified halal or to be certified halal companies, the employer must employ at least one competent halal compliance manager. This is very, very important. And therefore, we are using this as a tool for us to advance our talent, not just to meet the local halal industry, but it is also an opportunity for us to export our local talent. You know, because many countries out there are following our halal standards, and therefore, this requirement of having a full-time certified halal compliance manager, which is Muslim, got to be Muslim, is also apply. So, for countries like Japan or Korea, where they face difficulty in getting a competent Muslim around to hold this position, and therefore, it is an opportunity for us to export our talent to meet the halal requirements in that particular country. That is number 3. Number 4 is enhancing quality and integrated infrastructure development. So this is very, very important. The halal industrial parks, the Internet of Things, you know, the incentives, so on and so forth, is very, very important for us as one of the enablers for us to advance our halal economy. And number 4 is fostering thought leadership. So we need to have more leaders. You know, we need to have more of this kind of conference that can spin off, or they can create more leaders like you guys, you know, in this halal industry. They can talk things regarding the halal from economic development standpoint, like we do this afternoon. And followed by the strategic thrust number 6, which is the producing homegrown halal champions. Okay, this is my favorite subject. Even though earlier during our discussion, I say that our halal ecosystem is the most robust and also sustainable, but actually we also facing issues whereby the sustainability is well supported by the multinationals, too much supported by multinationals. So we need to have more homegrown halal champions like Duopharma in order for make our ecosystem more robust and also more sustainable in the long run. So if you look at football league, you know, or football team, in order for the football team to excel in the league, they must have their own Ronaldo and Messi. You know, so Halal Malaysia also need is Ronaldo and Messi to score the halal export. So as much as we want to nurture the import players, but we must also give focus to nurture our homegrown halal champion in order to make our ecosystem more sustainable and robust in the long run. And of course, Bumiputra participation is very, very important. In halal, like been reported by our Deputy Prime Minister during one of the Parliament session earlier this month, this month. So he's mentioning that the number of certified halal companies owned by Bumiputra compared to others is about the same, about balance, about 50-50, but the contribution to the export is very, very low by the certified halal local Bumiputra companies. It's about 5 to 7% only. So this is another area which we need to tackle. Speaking about the critical connecting points, and in order for us to connect the ecosystem, so I think this is something that SDC is working on together with MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also MITI. So number 1 that we are exploring at the moment is having more bilateral cooperations between Malaysia and strategic countries on halal. This is our experience about 3 weeks ago, I was in Vietnam, whereby the Vietnamese government is looking for Malaysia's assistance in order for them to develop and enhance their halal ecosystem. So they are tapping on our expertise. But we must be smart on this one. So when we share our knowledge, you know, when we share our expertise, we must also be smart. We must know what we get in return. You know, what the things that we get in return is point number 2, which is the mutual economic return from the promoter sectors in halal. We need to deal with all the Vietnamese. What kind of promoter sector that we want to develop together when it comes to halal economy? Is it food? Is it cosmetic? Is it medical devices? So what are the win-win situation or win-win term of reference that we can follow in order for us to spur more trade, more investment, and more quality employment, which will be enjoyed by both countries when we do this mutual recognition and also bilateral cooperation. Okay, once we have those two, and come the third critical connecting points, which is mutual recognition among the halal certification bodies with our JAKIM. So this is very important. So just now we mentioned about 88 halal certification bodies from 48 different countries. So we need to increase this number, so that our manufacturer here in Malaysia can have better access to certified ingredients, to certified halal semi-finished goods, so that they can increase their production capacity in order for them to increase the number of SKU they are producing. And then we can nurture cooperation between halal promotional agencies through training and consultancy between HDC and its counterpart all over the world. So this is what we are doing. So we always advise countries out there who wish to develop or wish to enhance advance their halal ecosystem to establish or at least to identify one entity which can act like HDC, a central coordinator, or otherwise HDC will end up dealing with too many organizations, and which it will become ineffective in a way, and also cause ineffectiveness can happen. And then once the first 4 critical connecting points have been established, then linkages between business players in halal become very, very easy. So we can organize the B2B session, matching program, trade, expo, business conference. So it become very, very easy because we already have the players, we have the framework in place. So the players can take part in the local and also international halal economic growth in that particular country. And once we have the industry, the linkages between auxiliary services in halal can become handy. So the supply chain, the economic zone. So because you already have the industry players, so the business, the volume of the product is there, and then we definitely activities like logistics can come and support, right? And once we have the industry in place, there come the exchange of talents and expertise in halal supply chain management. So this is what I'm talking about just now, the halal compliance manager. So we need to supply the talent in order for other countries to grow their volume in halal, and therefore they need to increase their number of maybe manufacturing plants. Maybe they want to increase these businesses in auxiliary services in halal, and therefore they need talent. So this is where Malaysia through HDC can supply and support. And last but not least, the mutual recognition of industry and trade best practices. Example, sanitary and phytosanitary requirements. Sometimes these trade requirements are not just limited to halal, like Mr. Wanja mentioned earlier. Yes, his pharmaceutical is certified halal, but there are other trade requirements, tariff and non-tariff barrier which he needs to address. So we must not just address on halal, we must also together address the other trade requirements, so that we can have seamless product movement from point A to point B, from Malaysia to our partnering country, and from our partnering country back to Malaysia. So that is to answer your question, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, HAIROL. All right, to Mr. Wanjam, on the same note as I asked Mr. HAIROL earlier, while Duopharma has made significant strides in halal pharmaceuticals, global awareness of halal certified medicines, as you shared earlier, is still limited. What steps does Duopharma plan to take to promote the availability and benefits of halal pharmaceuticals worldwide? And how can we better educate consumers and healthcare providers about what halal pharmaceuticals are and why they matter?
Okay. Thank you for the question. Right, so the work that we have been doing in terms of creating awareness in wherever it may be local as well as international markets, have been going on for a couple of decades so far already. We know we can't work on our own. We can't be a single company trying to break into markets on the basis of halal pharma. If we are trying to break into markets based on our competitiveness of our products, the quality of our products, etc., that's a different question, because that's more about how well we sell our products outside based on the quality of our products. But the question we have today, how do we sell our products in countries based on halal pharma when halal pharma is not matter that is known to these markets. So the question is, how do you create that awareness? How do you create the understanding about the importance of halal pharma? And that has to be done on the basis of partnerships and collaboration between HDC, between MAJID, between Duopharma, all the other companies, the research institutions, academia, a lot of people. There are different stakeholders like anything else, like everything else. It requires brainstorming, continuous research and analytics around what makes halal pharma important. Why is it something that we need to continue to focus on? Mr. HAIROL mentioned earlier about this being an economically relevant subject matter. It is. It is. It starts off as a requirement from a religious perspective, and then it grows into, like a lot of other things, an economic tool. And we have to treat it like an economic tool because you put money into research and development of halal products, and development of these products costs a lot of money, but we don't put a premium on top of it. But what you want to do is create awareness about halal pharma so that it becomes a lot more acceptable everywhere else. What we are doing, obviously, is to break into markets, as I mentioned earlier. We've gone to the Philippines and we've worked with IMAN, an association of Muslim medical practitioners there, to create awareness about halal. And they operate largely in the south of the Philippines, where majority of the population are Muslims. We know Indonesia is coming on big because by 2030, their pharmaceuticals will all need to be halal certified. Now, they have a captured market of almost 200 million people. It's not small. Now, leadership of halal pharmaceuticals is here in Malaysia, but we need to maintain that. And we maintain that through collaboration with these parties. We've created partnerships across these different markets. We've gone to Qatar. We've spoken to the government of Qatar as well. We've also had engagements with various parties, including from Saudi. But as I mentioned earlier, the whole question about whether halal pharma is acceptable or not in these markets is always key. So we have to be careful in how we approach it, but we approach it, we must. The question is, how do you do it? So the engagement with these authorities via MAJID, via various different agencies, HDC, etc., is important. And we must continue to make sure that it is a continuous effort that we continue to do. One of the things that we do, of course, is coming up with, of course, innovative products. So one of the innovative, other than our erythropoietin, is also cancer products. Malaysia did not have a cancer manufacturing facility before, but we now do. We now have two, actually, not just Duopharma, but there's another other company as well. But Duopharma set up the first one, which was manufacturing a breast cancer product. We also have a small lung cancer product now. We also have chronic myeloid leukemia product. Now it's a blood cancer product. So these are products that we're manufacturing out of our facility in Malaysia, but they're also halal certified. So that's unique. And I think, again, that differentiation is not just for Duopharma alone in the context of playing in a field of generic manufacturers or biosimilar manufacturers, but also Malaysia as a country, which has a lot of collaborators, a standard that is able to be exported to a certain degree. But more important now is the awareness of it, and how do we create that awareness and importance of halal pharma. I think we can go on a G2G basis or B2B basis or G2B basis, whatever angle that we take. But we must continue to speak in one voice and make sure that this halal initiative, not just halal pharma, because halal pharma is one component, but I'm talking on halal pharma because I'm a pharmaceutical company, but make sure that the initiative is robust, and HDC has this major role that they are playing, and a very important role that I believe that they, as well as MAJID, perhaps are two agencies that are very important to us because we export our products and we want them halal certified. So there needs to be some form of collaboration, and perhaps an international halal awareness on halal pharmaceuticals should be one of the programs that we develop and continue to portray in the international arena so that everybody is aware of it. And I think that's very important.
All right. Thank you to both of our panelists for your thoughts on the future advancements needed for Malaysia's halal industry. Now, let's turn our attention to a critical global trend, which is sustainability. As we all know, we have moved beyond Industry 4.0, and the current mega trend now is sustainability, with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, being introduced by the United Nations, and the ESG movement gaining momentum. Malaysia is very serious about these initiatives. Bank Negara, MOF, MITI, they all have introduced a variety of ESG initiatives. So my question now to first, Mr. HAIROL, what about HDC? What is HDC doing so far in terms of sustainability? What is the halal industry doing so far to integrate sustainability development goals and ESG principles?
Yeah, thank you, DHALIFF. I think most importantly, and for us to understand, is halal technically is not an industry. It is a value proposition. So it cut across various industry or sub-products, food, cosmetic, personal care, medical devices, and also the rest. So it is very important. So meaning that when we try to embed, halal, ESG, so it must not confine to just on halal, but we must also take care, we must also make sure that it also benefit the sectors which we are promoting. When we look at the halal logo, the Halal Malaysia logo, actually it's not just a halal logo. It represents the ecosystem of Halal Malaysia. It's very, very complex, mature, robust, and it's already 50 years old. What HDC did is we did a mapping with United Nations Global Compact Principles on investment. And we also recently did a mapping with environmental, social, and governance, ESG. And we found a couple of common values between these three. Yeah. So if I can name a few. So the common values between halal, ESG, and UN Global Compact Principles, among others like social welfare, sustainability, environmental friendliness, human rights, animal welfare, labor welfare, anti-corruption, and also quality. So this is very, very important tools in terms of communicating halal with our brothers and sisters, especially in Europe and United States of America, because they are very, some of them may have this wrong impression about halal, but when we mention that halal is nothing new, it's not something that is exclusive, halal is something more inclusive in nature, where it also apply those common values with what the thing that they already know. So it is very important. That is make us very, very easy for us to communicate all these things. So to answer what we have done so far, but this is not on pharmaceutical, but this is on palm oil. Recently we announced a collaboration between HDC and MSPO, Malaysia Sustainable MPOC, Malaysia Palm Oil Council, in co-promoting halal and also MSPO, and using ESG as an added value to both certification. So we are working together with MPOC at the moment to look at the certification requirements of our palm oil, the MSPO, and we see how halal can add value. And the MPOC also looking at our halal certification and how MSPO can add value for palm oil and palm oil based products. So definitely when it comes to palm oil production, Indonesia already surpassed us. They are the biggest palm oil producer for the world market. But when it comes to quality, when it comes to halal together with MSPO, we're still number one. So we can do it together, and definitely once we are ready with this framework, we will definitely invite our partners from Indonesia to participate so that we can promote the palm oil of ASEAN, you know, as a single market, is going to offer what we call an economic-driven, palm oil economic-driven, also sustainable-driven kind of economy, and definitely we can together export better palm oil to and also halal to the rest of the world. So that is one initiative that we are doing at the moment to promote ESG. And there are plenty other more. Like MITI, our ministry, they came up with ESG for manufacturing and manufacturing-related services standards framework about 2 months ago, and definitely we are embedding this knowledge and also this requirement through our Halal integrated platform members, so that more manufacturers out there can comply to ESG in future, so that they can make them easier for them to get funding and also financing from the local banks, the financial institution, which currently also embedding the ESG requirement into their products and also services offered to the SMEs out there.
Right. All right. Mr. Wanjeff, what about Duopharma? What does sustainability mean to Duopharma now, and how do you see the principles of ESG integrating with halal? What is your opinion on that?
Duopharma has been, we've got this ESG strategy that we developed back in 22 until 26. So it's a 5-year strategy. We realized that the areas of ESG like climate performance, the sustainable supply chain, access to medicine, the diversity and inclusivity, and also governance are all important areas of ESG that we need to monitor. So I'll just talk specifically about the area of sustainability as it relates to halal pharmaceuticals. So when we talk about, as I mentioned earlier, access to medicine is one of those areas that is important to our sustainability initiatives. And that's making sure that the medicines that the patients require is accessible. And in order for it to be accessible, first of all, you have to develop it, you have to manufacture it, and then you have to supply it. We're already doing that. Yeah, we're already doing that. We are the largest pharmaceutical company in the country, both by value and by volume. So from that standpoint, we continue to pipeline products and develop them as we move along, identifying what specifically doctors and patients require. Not just on the pharmaceutical side, but also on the wellness side, which means that we also develop new supplements, new food products, food-related products that are important for the market concern. So we continue to do that. And halal, in the context of sustainability, is, as I mentioned earlier, adds this hygienic component to GMP. And that hygienic component is, again, a very important element in the context of meeting certain requirements of the Muslim Ummah and community. It is not just good for the Muslim Ummah, though, because it is actually universal in value and also benefits everyone, not just the Muslims. So if you consume it, you know, it's good, it's safe, efficacious, it's got good quality, and it's hygienic. Yeah, so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is on the innovation part, i.e. adding new products to our portfolio. And one of the things that we realized that is in trend right now is plant-based ingredients. So plant-based ingredients comes purely from plants. There's no chemicals, it's natural chemicals if there's any. There's no synthetic chemicals, there's no najis in there, etc., etc. So it comes halal as it is. So we have a consumer healthcare subsidiary. It's called Duopharma Consumer Healthcare Syndrome Berhad. All our products, which and I'll do a bit of promotion here for you guys. We have Flavets, we have Euphamol, we have Champs, we have Naturel, we have iGlow. All these products are Duopharma's products, if you don't know, because you rarely look and see who actually manufactures this, right? That's Duopharma's product. So we want to develop a range of products that are plant-based only, but fortified with obviously vitamins, supplements, etc., that will give you very good health overall. So that's where we are heading towards. We will have a range of plant-based products that we are developing right now, which we'll be launching soon. So that's the category of products that we're moving into. So apart from that, obviously, the inclusivity and diversity, as I mentioned earlier, the governance side of things, because when you look at making sure that you produce halal products, you make sure that the ingredients are good. That is embedded in our whole process in the company, so that whatever you produce, also adhering to Islamic principles. So in that sense, I believe that's the sustainability part of what Duopharma does. But overall, what we're trying to do is obviously trying to improve the health of the global community where we can touch them. So the Malaysian market, wherever it is that we are exporting throughout the world, hopefully we are able to actually improve the healthcare of those countries to those people around the world, and making sure that our preventative strategy for making sure that wellness is a key aspect of our products as well, and also our strategy as well within the company, is shared with all as much as possible. So we hope to be a sustainable company and a responsible company at that too.
Amin. Thank you, Mr. HAIROL. Thank you, Mr. Wan Jeff, for sharing your valuable insights, ideas, opinions. At this point, I would like to open up the discussion to the floor. If anyone has any questions for our esteemed panelists, please do so. Please be at ease, raise your hand, and step up to the microphones.
Hello. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Azizi bin Ahmad from USAS, University of Malaysia. Okay, currently we are talking about food security. So my question is, how do the food security challenges in relation to halal product availability differ to Muslim communities, and what roles does the HDC play in addressing these challenges? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Azizi. All right, Mr. HAIROL ke, or ni Mr. HAIROL dulu?
Let me touch a bit on security. Actually, there are two issues actually we need to tackle together: food security and food safety. Yeah, two. So we're talking about food security. I mentioned earlier the biggest challenge faced by industry players in halal is supply chain disruptions. You know, the biggest issue among that particular the subset issue of that particular bigger issue is lack source of certified halal ingredients. This is where connectivity is very important. Business networking is very, very important. We must assist our industry players out there to have better access to certified halal ingredients and also semi-finished goods, so that they can increase their production capacity, and therefore they can produce more SKU in the market. They can introduce more SKU to the market, and therefore more our brothers and sisters out there can have access to certified halal goods all over the world. So in order to do that, so ADC now, about 2 years ago, we introduced a platform. You know, we are going into digitalization. So we have introduced a platform called Halal Integrated Platform. So Halal Integrated Platform is not an e-commerce platform. It's basically a business networking platform. It acts like Yellow Pages. If you know Yellow Pages, meaning that you are old enough. You know. So if I ask my daughter, my kids, they do not know what is Yellow Pages. So, but the thing is, when we created the Halal Integrated Platform, it's a virtual Yellow Pages for our halal ecosystem industry players. So whatever they need, you know, in order for them to advance their business throughout the halal value chain or halal supply chain is available inside there. So if let's say they want to sell their product, there are platforms for them to tap on so that they can sell their product. If let's say they are looking for source of halal ingredients or semi-finished goods, then definitely they can get it from the Halal Integrated Platform among the members. We have about 14,000 members in the platform, so we are going to increase it to more than 30,000 in 5 years' time. So we are looking to that. So the great thing about the platform is it is not just limited to certified halal companies. So it is open for all companies out there or who wish to participate in the halal economy. So HDC has this framework that can assist by phase to assist this company moving from point A to point B. From point A is basically they are in the category of deemed halal, so moving towards a fully certified halal company. So we have this kind of intervention in order for them to participate in the halal economy better. Okay, in order for company A and company B, example that they are both members of integrated platform, halal integrated platform. So in order for them to realize their supply chain, there are plenty of issues and challenges they will face in order to turn their supply chain into dollar and cents. They might not have access to ingredients, they might not have access to the financial assistance, lack of technology, lack access to competent manpower or human capital. So these are the things that have been supplied or been offered by partners of integrated platforms. So anything that you need in order for you to excel in the halal supply chain or value chain and become better player in the world halal economy, so it's available in the halal integrated platform. So this is also part of marketing also. Yeah? So you can go to www.hip@hdcglobal.com in order for you to become member of the integrated platform, and become member is free, and definitely from there we can assess your readiness when you enter the halal economy, and we can assist you technically and also strategically for you to become a better player in the halal economy. So that's how we address the issue of food safety and also food security through digitalization.
Right. We have another questions.
Good evening. My name is Zara Muzaffar. I'm from DRB Highcom University of Automotive Malaysia, Pakan Pahang. My question is for Mr. HAIROL. So with the recent rise in Islamophobia, countries like France and Denmark are putting forth ban on halal products. So in response to that, how can Malaysia leverage its position as halal market leader to foster economic diplomacy and strengthen trade relation with countries imposing ban on halal products?
Right. Talking about Islamophobia, again, like I mentioned earlier, based on questions imposed by Mr. Moderator, talking about positioning halal with the things that the European and the American is aware of, like ESG, UNGC. So it's very important in communicating halal strategically with the community out there. If let's say we just introduce halal just like that, bluntly, you know, halal is for Muslim. So definitely there will be some resistance. But if we say that halal has common value with UN Global Compact Principle, it has common value with ESG, you know, what are the common values? Like environmental friendliness, quality, sustainability, human rights, animal welfare, and definitely they will appreciate halal better. And it's very important when we communicate halal, like Mr. Wanjam mentioned just now, it's an economic tool, you know. So halal as a new source of economic growth, you know. Yes, maybe 30 years ago, when we talk about halal, when people talk about halal, it is merely a religious matter. So now, I think the whole world now is already onboarding the halal game. You know, they are looking halal as a new source of economic growth. And therefore, if halal can bring growth to one country's economy, and definitely we can justify to them that, yes, definitely is something that we can work together. And Malaysia being a country blessed with all the resources and knowledge in developing halal since 1974, definitely we are the front runner when it comes to sharing of knowledge, and definitely we will be the right partner or right business partner for countries all over the world to tap on in order to grow the business of halal together.
All right, do we have other questions? Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good evening to everyone. Thank you so much, panel members, for enlightening us on building tomorrow the halal economy. My name is Khalida Khalid Ali. I am an academic staff on part-time basis at University Technology Petronas, Sri Iskandar. I teach ethics and integrity, and part of the syllabus covers trade secrets. So when I was listening to Inche AMIR-JEFFERY enlightening us on the pharmaceutical business, I'm sure there are many trade secrets that may not be revealed by pharmaceutical companies to consumers, which is very unethical, but yet it is a business game altogether. Now, for you being one of the pioneers in the pharmaceutical industry of Malaysia, how do you handle this challenge in the international arena? Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for the question.
Mr. Wanja, maybe we can get one more question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We hold it on the unethical part for Mr. Wanja, and we have another question. Yes, sir. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for an enlightening speech. And I've got few questions and observations. With regard to the issue raised by Brother HAIROL about the $1 trillion industry that we have got only a minuscule of it, at least 55 billion or so. I feel that it is maybe due to having halal as only as a Muslim product and not as a product for all. If you look into the Quranic ayah, the halal is associated with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. But when you look into the Quranic ayah, you are the best people ever created for the humanity. That word lam and nafa refers to entire humanity. We have got a role to ensure that halal reaches everyone. So it's not just confined to the Muslim community alone. So the mission of inclusivity and universalization of this idea, it is very important so that the industry can grow and accommodate all aspects. Because it's a mission for Muslim community to ensure that halal reaches every nook and corner of the world. Secondly, when it comes to the what we call medical profession, and particularly pharmacy, according to Islamic Sharia requirement is, medicine is, even non-halal items are also allowed as medicine. And Ibn Sina has allowed the consumption of the blood of a pig as a cure. He has allowed it. It is allowed even as though it is a non-halal one. It is allowed because it is, as a medicine, it is allowed. So this industry of halal pharma may be a thing which is a good development, but I think it might be to create some kind of a confusion in the minds of people as to medicine. Medicine should be kept free. It cures the entire humanity. On a lighter note, I found that the Duopharma, the term Duopharma itself is confusion because you are going on two things together, maybe halal and haram together. Wallahu a'lam bisawab.
All right, thank you. I think we can go first with Mr. Wanjef on Puan Khalida, Dr. Khalida from UTP, with regards to the trade secrets. What is your comment on that?
Yeah, on the trade secrets, first of all, we operate as a generics pharmaceutical and a biosimilar pharmaceutical company. What that means is that we manufacture products that are already off patent, available for anyone to manufacture. Similarly, on the biosimilar side, what we are doing is basically manufacturing a copy of the originator biopharma product. So again, these products are off patent. I understand the question on trade secrets, etc., and that's protected under the Intellectual Property Act, MyIPO, etc., and other countries have their own intellectual property organizations and acts as well. In Malaysia, we have, whenever you register or file a IP or patent, it will protect your patent for your product for about 20 years. So when you file it, 20 years from that date. as I mentioned again, there's no trade secrets because we are not an innovator company per se. I have a view on that though. I have a view on what you're saying, i.e. trade secrets. Now, because we work with companies that actually has those technologies. So these companies are the ones who own the technologies. For example, the erythropoietin that I mentioned earlier, that is actually a technology that is developed by a company in Korea who is our partner, and we are also an investor in that company called Biotech. And they are based in Suwon in Korea. So they use Chinese hamster ovary. And again, I mean, the gentleman that asked a question about halal medicine, that's one school of thought, and I respect that totally, and I think that has been what has been completely followed over the last many years, even before the advent of halal pharma. But back to the question of trade secrets, we sign up an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement with companies. We get into commercial agreements with them, supply agreements with them, tech transfer agreements with them. These are all protected in the agreements. The question of ethical, when a technology is developed and it's protected, I think it's more a question of investment in developing those products, that is money spent by those companies around the world that they have spent, and they want to ensure that they get their return on investment because it is a business after all. Whilst they develop products and pharmaceutical products that is available for the community, for the patients who require it, etc., that is something that obviously needs to be paid back. How long they're required to get their money back, wallahu alam, because to be honest, I'm not an innovator, but we know some companies get their payback within 5 to 7 years. Normally, if you don't get that kind of payback, that's not worth doing. But any molecule that you develop, a new drug that you develop, can cost anywhere between 800 to $1 billion US dollars. That's a new molecule, new chemical entity, a new drug that is registered. So that, it's costly. It's obviously a lot of work, a lot of time. So they want to be paid for it. So I think the question that I suppose these pharma companies are doing, there's of course questions about ethical practices of the pharma companies, but you know, it's beyond me because I'm not an innovator. We just manufacture what is off patent. But when we work with companies that have the technology, then obviously we cover ourselves in terms of the agreements, etc.
All right. So what about addressing Duopharma?
Oh.
What does Duo means?
Okay. Duopharma, actually that company name was, okay. Duopharma is actually, formerly we were known as CCM Duopharma. CCM is Chemical Company of Malaysia, Duopharma. And CCM is a group that actually used to own us. They have fertilizers, polymers, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. But then we were demerged from CCM. We are now known as Duopharma Biotech Berhad. Now, the history of the name of Duopharma is also interesting. I'm glad you brought it up. Because Duopharma doesn't mean halal or haram. But what it means is it basically started off when these two pharmacists, set up a trading of drugs company first in Klang. And then they set up a manufacturing facility, and we acquired them. CCM acquired them back then. And we manufactured basically products from that facility, and also in Bangi, and also in Glenmarie in Selangor. Now, it's interesting, maybe I'll just also address the question about medicine being halal. You're right, I mean, that's definitely something that is, I agree to you, to your suggestion, and also the facts of the matter is that drugs should be halal. And that's the position of a lot of mazhabs, school of thoughts. But where we're coming from is, if you could basically develop alternatives to some of the non-halal products, and you can make them in such a way that they are synthetic or from natural products, etc., then the question is why not? And that's the angle that we're coming from. So it's not a question of right or wrong, but what can you do in the context of developing halal pharma?
All right. Okay, I think because we are reaching towards the end very soon, almost, but I think we'll go back to the context of our gentleman question, maybe to Encik HAIROL. The halal should reach everyone. What is CEO of HDC's comment on that?
Honestly, I share the same observation actually. But if you look at the statistics, okay, numbers don't lie. I love to see at numbers. If you look at the number or the percentage of non-Muslim owned companies that are certified halal, in Malaysia we have more than 50% actually, right? And if you look at Malaysia halal export, last year 55 billion ringgit, 92% are by non-Muslim or non-Bumiputra or non-Muslim owned certified halal companies. So it is not a restriction under the Malaysia halal standard. The ownership of the company is not part of a requirement to get halal. So it is an open market for all. And just a matter of how we position the products, you know, like I mentioned earlier. It's not a merely religious matter anymore. So it's more on the economic development tools. And people and companies, the countries out there are using halal as new source of economic growth. I think here the biggest issue is always on how we connect the industry players out there in order for us to have a more robust supply chain and for companies out there to service and produce more products that can reach Muslim and also non-Muslim consumers all over the world. Yes, Muslim about 1.9 billion, yeah, by 2030, inshallah. The $5 trillion which I mentioned just now, which we forecast by 2030, is a calculation done based on Muslim consumers alone. But if we calculate the potential offered by the non-Muslim consumers, actually we are looking at USD 30 trillion worth of halal market. So actually the world of halal, the world market of halal is bigger than we thought. So it's up for us, you know, me as a policy maker, me as industry promoter, industry enablers, Mr. Wan Jeff here as industry players, you know, for us to capitalize on whatever opportunity offered by the world market out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, HAIROL. Thank you, Mr. Wan Jeff. So before we conclude, it is only fair for me to give one last question to both of you. So I'd like to ask to both of our panelists to share your vision for the future of Malaysia's halal industry. Where do both of you see the industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years? What are the key trends and developments that you believe will shape our future? Maybe we can go with Mr. Wan Jeff first.
Okay. I envisage that halal pharmaceuticals will be globally accepted. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in order for that to happen, but you're seeing, whilst there are challenges in terms of understanding and also acceptance of it because of the clear issues and school of thoughts that exist within the different communities of Muslims and also non-Muslims, the challenges are real. But what I realize is that it is gaining traction. Halal pharma, surprisingly, to my pleasant surprise, is gaining traction. Countries like Saudi, for example, who were staunch in their belief that medicines, you know, it's halal. There are entities there now, including the Saudi FDA, which is obviously the regulatory body within Saudi that looks at pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical product registrations, etc., and doing research in pharmaceuticals, have started to look at halal pharmaceuticals, not in a major way. I think they're also wary of the sensitivities around it, but they are starting to look at it in a way that I believe shows interest in understanding that space better. Indonesia, for example, they have been very, very active, proactive in terms of ensuring that whatever is consumed by their population, which is majority Muslims, 190 odd million people, are halal certified. And this is evident in the way that they said that by 2030, all pharmaceutical products that is consumed or rather sold in Indonesia has to be halal pharma. It might be interesting to see how they implement it, because a lot of products may not be halal certified by then. So I think they will have to make some concessions. I think they have to make some leeway for some of these products to still come in, because they may be critical for health. But what I do see as a question, that an answer to the question is posed, is that this will grow. The question that we have in terms of Malaysia and all the other Muslim countries around the world, if we don't take it as a leadership position on halal and halal pharmaceuticals, somebody else will. Somebody else will. And this is an economic question to a certain degree, and something that we have to debate on, obviously. But what's clear is that there are countries around the world, China in particular, sees the value of halal pharmaceuticals because they see it as a market access to countries that are Muslim majority. Whether they acknowledge a question of challenges and pushback, etc., is something else, but they are going to take it up. So I envisage it maybe in about 10, 15 years, halal pharma would be widely accepted. If not globally, then I think in major markets, in some of the key markets around ASEAN and also Middle East, MENA in particular. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wanjam. HAIROL, what is your vision for our halal industry? Where do you see we're going to go?
Okay, I would like to see more countries out there participating in the halal economy, onboarding the game, you know, because it's very important for us to connect the ecosystem. And it's very important also to reduce the gap or to increase the maturity level of each partnering countries in terms of their halal ecosystem, so that it can play, we can play together in addressing all the issues and challenges faced by the industry players throughout the world. Most important thing here is to have a seamless product movement between one country to another. And I would like to see the whole world have a single-minded when it comes to halal. Halal as a new source of economic growth. Halal can increase trade. Halal can attract more direct investment into the respective countries. And halal can create employment opportunity cross-border. So that's what I would like to see in 10 or 15 years' time. And definitely, in order for us to make that something that we can achieve faster, is to change. There's a drastic change on our policy makers' mindset. You know, when we go out there and we share our knowledge and also our expertise on halal, it is not about creating competitors. You know, we create partners. So we don't have to reserve on our knowledge on halal. It's just for Malaysian only, because other countries out there are dying, you know, to procure or to get the knowledge from Malaysia. So this is an opportunity for Malaysia to develop more partners out there through our knowledge sharing and also knowledge expertise sharing. And from there, I really hope that through the intervention by both governments, through our G2G alignments, the industry players can capitalize on whatever opportunity being offered to them in the near future. That's all. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you, Mr. HAIROL. Thank you, Mr. Wanjam. And once again, thank you very much to Mr. HAIROL ARIFFEIN SAHARI and Mr. Wan AMIR-JEFFERY, Wan ABDUL MAJID, for the insightful contributions and for sharing your perspectives on the future of Malaysia's halal industry. Today, we have explored the key achievements that have positioned Malaysia as the leader in the global halal market, discussed the challenges and opportunities we face, and examined the role of sustainability and ESG principles in shaping our future. Your insights, both of our panelists, have provided valuable clarity on how we can continue to drive the growth and innovation in this dynamic sector. The questions asked during this forum were intended not only to address current issues, but also to spark interests and seed ideas for future developments for all of us. Each of us here plays a role in contributing the growth of our nation. And it is through such discussion, this discussion, that we can inspire new approaches and new solutions. I would like to thank our audience, all of you today, for your engagement and thoughtful questions. Your participation has greatly enriched today's forum. Let us continue to collaborate and work towards advancing Malaysia's position in the global halal industry, ensuring that we uphold the highest standards and embrace sustainable practices for a prosperous future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you once again to the affable and incredible moderator. Thank you, Mr. DHALIFF G. ANUAR, and to the two CEOs, Mr. HAIROL ARIFFEIN SAHARI, Mr. Wan AMIR-JEFFERY, Wan ABDUL MAJID. Can we once again offer the biggest applause to these three incredible gentlemen, where the word of the day was halal, as you can hear. Many questions poised and asked, and also answered very incredibly intelligently by our incredible speakers. Thank you once again, truly incredible. As you can see, a myriad of knowledge here from so many sectors coming up to you to make this happen. And right now, I would like to advise all of you to please stay back, because the next session is a WCIT exclusive. It's going to be very, very special. I know why, because this lady is incredible. She is courageous. She's flown here to be with all of us. We want to hear her speak. So those who knows about, let me see, the father of the nation of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, this lady, ladies and gentlemen, has got that type of blood. She is courageous. She has spoken out very clearly. And today I was made to mention that our Chief Minister, together with the state dignitaries, will be joining us soon. Para sekalian, jangan ke mana-mana. Sebentar lagi